Hello and welcome to Reimagining Cyber. I'm Rob Aragao. Today we're joined by a good friend of the show, Michael Echols, who's back with a powerful new book called AI Chaos. And I'll tell you, this one is an eye-opener. Michael, it's a true pleasure having you back on. It's always great having conversations with you and enlightening the audience with your perspectives on cybersecurity. Really excited that you're here with us, and it's time again where you've released a new book. And we're really excited to hear more about that book. I want to give you the platform to share more about the book itself, but also starting with the why, right? Why write the book? What drove you to getting this out there and communicating your message?
So I wrote the book AI Chaos because AI is quietly crossed into a space of operational technology. It's those systems that control our physical world, our water, our power, our transit. And most leaders, even cybersecurity people, don't realize what that means. And what it means is that we're moving faster than our governance is allowing us to do it and us still be risk adverse. The book is sort of a wake up call, but the book is also a guide. I essentially wrote an open source guide that literally any consultant could pick up and figure out how to at least get started in doing AI assurance.
Very good. Very nice. And when we first had you on a couple of years back, at least, we were talking about similarly this topic, but not with AI, of course, in the topic. It was more also just focused on the cybersecurity aspects of it, right? You're amplifying, though, the importance of how people need to really be paying attention to our critical infrastructure, the dependencies in OT, and the elements of AI. And that's what this obviously, as you just stated, is really the focus of getting your message out there and, again, educating folks to understand that. So one of the things I wanted to kind of have you share, because you did a great job on something again similar as I was mentioning a while back, is what are you seeing as it relates to that convergence of OT and AI related to the reshaping of our threat landscape and, again, focused on critical infrastructure as a whole?
So the bottom line is that OT, AI, and operational technology environments affect our physical world, as I said. And what occurs is it's not about data loss at that point. It's about the disablement of your safety systems. It's about a model drifting and causing an issue worse than any software bug could cause. It could change the behavior of trains, a pump, gates, and protection relays between the OT and the IT, essentially tearing apart your safety schema or your systems that, for instance, keep your food safe. Or if we take this to the furthest extent, satellites that have collision avoidance systems. Well, when those satellites start thinking for themselves, as opposed to being automated, when they start thinking for themselves, ML, how do you have any control of that? Right. And so it's about one thing, humans maintaining control of something that they can't see.
Mm. See, this is the part of the kind of equation that comes into to focus right now, right? It's the weaponizing, in essence, of some of
Mhm.
these environments. And when you look at that, right, as you're discussing, there are some specific hidden vulnerabilities that sit within these smart systems. What are you seeing out there again as to why these attackers are able to operate undetected or taking so long to actually be detected at times?
So here's the rub on all of this. It's not necessarily going to be attackers, right? You're essentially building in a potential attacker into your system,
True.
right? When we think
Yep.
about insider threat, the person that doesn't follow the governance structure is an inside threat, right? If you build an AI system or your vendors that you're bringing in have AI built into their systems and you're just paying them to do a job, right? They're
Yeah.
doing that job very well, but it has a AI component to it. You don't know exactly what that AI controls or how it works, right? So essentially, you have a vulnerability because you have systems built on interconnected sensors, machine learning models, automatic decision loops, and you have no visibility.
Mm.
So when something goes wrong, someone gets killed, someone gets hurt, the freezer system that you have stops working because the AI decided that the temperature should be different than what it is, and you lose $10 million. When all of those types of things start to occur, what happens next, Rob? What happens next is the insurance company comes in that you're expecting to pay for the damage that just occurred. What you're going to find out is they're going to ask you, well, where's AI running? Well, how did this automation get out of line? And you don't even know the automation is running. So you have no explanation for something that you're paying for. No shut off button, right? Then after the insurance people come in, the regulators are going to come in, depending on which industry you're in. And the regulators are going to ask the same questions. And you are literally going to say, well, I don't exactly know what functions AI is running. I don't exactly know which of my vendor sets have AI functions. I don't really know how to shut it off if something does go wrong.
And this is the thing you're talking about is now is the time for everyone really to start figuring this out, start mapping out how this all interconnects with one another, start laying the foundation, as you mentioned, to have the right visibility, awareness, and in essence, governance, right, around how you control these elements. Now, one of the things that to me was profound that you introduced in this book, AI Chaos, is the AIM framework or AIM frame maturity model. Just kind of from the level 100, right? Explain for the audience what that's all about. And I think it's just a great approach to apply, how we think in the past, maybe from a cyber perspective, and model this into, again, this kind of next generational element that we're living in right now, but just help everyone understand what that's all about, how you laid it out.
So I'm promoting governance, right? So from a governance perspective, the AIM frame has 6 levels. The reason that it's important is you should have a certain set of capabilities per what level you're on. So let's start at the beginning. If you're level 0, you're someone who is, AI is around, you know about it, you have no visibility where it exists of how it impacts your OT environment. If you're a level 1, you are, AI is present, you don't manage it, the organization can respond, you believe, to an AI related event if it occurs. If you're a level 2, the organization has identified where AI is embedded and they understand the basic functions and risks. You're starting to draft policies. If you're level 3, AI oversight is incorporated into enterprise and OT cybersecurity processes. So you're starting to get it, you're starting to really get engaged. And then if you're level 4, which is the predictive level, your advanced analytics and modeling allow the organization to anticipate AI performance issues and model drift, which means that if one system is supposed to talk to another system in a 0.03 milliseconds, and it doesn't, then there is an automatic response from your system, right? And then the last level is autonomous, and very few people will ever reach the autonomous level. And that's where the organization employs trusted AI to continuously monitor the AI and to make adjustments to the AI when it gets out of line. And so what we've done is created a roadmap for an organization. Because if you can imagine, you bring this subject up and you start to have these conversations and everybody gets glassy-eyed and nothing occurs, right? So by having a maturity model, by having a framework, you create an opportunity for organizations, different organizations, to have conversations with each other. You create an opportunity for vendors to have the correct conversations.
See, that's it's interesting you're talking about this in that frame, because I was mentioning to you as we were coming on to the recording that, I'm at a conference. We're talking, of course, about cybersecurity. And of course, as you can appreciate, it's the intertwining of AI and all these different aspects. And, we talk about an example of, like, a 1 degree difference in your laying out kind of your flight path, for example,
Mm-hmm.
and how much of a difference that can make. Literally about 500 miles difference is what that difference can be by accident if
Mm-hmm.
you are relying on the autonomy of the system that you're plugging in and programming and saying, here's my flight path, and I put in 292 degrees instead of 293 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
Big difference, right? Just as an example, an analogy to tie back to it. The other thing I wanted to kind of delve into a little bit as you were talking about this, more so on the autonomous side of it. And I know it's kind of that's further out, of course, but there's there's this concept that we've talked about for quite some time, and I know you and I have chatted about this, especially in the frame again of cyber, and it's resilience, right? Operational
Mm-hmm.
resilience,
Mm-hmm.
cyber resilience. Now there's this element as it relates to, when we're doing all of this great innovation, we got to put the guardrails and control mechanisms in place as we're developing that. And that's the aspect of, in essence, resilience. And in not doing those things, especially when you're developing something that could be autonomous based system, major risk comes into play. And you talked about those risks at the forefront of our conversation on critical
Mm-hmm.
infrastructure as an example of that. But when you kind of package it all together, help people understand what's the relevance and importance of truly ensuring you're baking that resiliency factor in to what you're
Mm-hmm.
developing as maybe an autonomous system as an example.
That's right. So innovation without resilience is just reckless, right? So we start to innovate, we put a new system in, let's say for our electrical system, which we always talk about, take Texas, for instance. Obviously, they have a terrible electrical system, right? It goes down and everybody suffers. We've all seen this, right? Let's say they go in, they put a new AI system in, and they innovate and they put new sensors in and all those types of things with an AI model running and leading this thing for efficiency. Let's say then the AI model decides that it can get better efficiency by turning a particular system off, turning another one on, running one in a particular time because you have told it that you're looking for efficiency, right? And when that occurs, you get some unpredictable behavior. The issue there is it may be predictable behavior for the machine. It's not predictable behavior for our society and our systems and the way we expect things to run, right? And so, whereas you might do something that enables more efficiency on that electrical grid, maybe, for instance, you do something to disrupt the stock of the organization,
Yeah.
right? And so, we have to maintain and put the right guardrails in and have the right controls because these autonomous systems, they don't fail gracefully, they fail at scale. And resilience has to grow at the same pace of that innovation. My system allows you to do that.
I agree. From what I went through and read of it, I think it gives you great guidance on the things you need to consider, which takes us to kind of the last point I wanted to have you share with us. And it's really giving that kind of, focus of the steps maybe key leaders in their organizations should be preparing for now and taking even into action now for these emerging AI powered threats. We're seeing them, right? They're taking place. So, like, what would be maybe pick a couple things to really kind of have someone walk away from listening to you today and be able to put into action pretty quickly?
Sure. So the first thing you want to do, no different than you would if you were doing cybersecurity in an operational technology environment, you have to gain visibility. And
Yeah.
typically with cybersecurity, you gain visibility by knowing what your assets are. First thing, what are your assets? What are they connected to? What is the criticality of that asset? Well, in this AI world, you also want to know where AI is running and exists in your system. Now, typically when we do contracting and we bring in these vendors, they're doing a job. We're just paying them to do that job well. Well, things have changed now. You need to actually be asking those vendors, are you using AI in your system? What have you automated? How does it work? And where is the shutoff button? So as you start to do that, you can develop governance, right? A set of policies, those model updates, that data integrity, that human oversight. And then lastly, you can assess the maturity using tools like the aim frame to identify where the gaps are before the adversary does, because they're going to figure it out.
No question. No question. Michael, always a pleasure having you on. We will link to your book in the show notes. I will definitely tell folks to go take a peek at it. You hear Michael talking about, giving you some summation in essence of what's covered in the book, but the guidance and the A-frame and thinking about it in that regard of that maturity model is a difference maker, in my opinion. It just kind of opens your mind to the reality of what you have to be dealing with and getting proactive as much as possible to deal with these different types of threats that we're discussing. So Michael, always a pleasure again. Thanks for coming on. And until next time, my friend.
Fantastic. I appreciate you guys having me. Let's save the world.
Let's go do it. Thank you.
All right.
Hello, Producer Ben here, and we've been lucky enough to have Michael appear on a couple of other episodes of the podcast. For example, back in May 2024, he came onto Reimagining Cyber to talk about another of his books. This one was called The Shield, Protecting Seniors from Hackers, which shed light on the vulnerability of seniors in the digital age.
They're looking for the lowest hanging fruit. In this particular case, the lowest hanging fruit happens to be a set of individuals who may have retirement plans, who may have a home, who may have bank accounts full of cash that has just been sitting there for years, investment accounts. They are challenged because they're not aware of the depth to which a criminal will go to get their funds. And that actually puts them at a disadvantage.
That was Michael Echols in episode 95 called Cybersafe Seniors, Protecting Our Elders from Digital Threats. Thanks for listening to Reimagining Cyber, and if you do have a couple of seconds to spare, then please give the show a rating and a review. See you next Wednesday. Goodbye.